Hello and welcome to a special work in progress episode here on Captain's Dry Dock. And in the dry dock today, we're working on the final piece of the Imperial Surplus kit of the First Order Stormtrooper Armour, the Forearms. Let's make it real. No, you're not mistaken. These are the parts for the forearm, part of the armour, and it's not a starship or spaceship of some kind because there are so many parts to this. And it took me a while to trim them all off and work out what's what because it's very complex how it all comes together. So these are all the parts that make up the left forearm. Oh, this is a face of a man that made a big mistake while building his First Order armour. Over my shoulder, you got that right, those are the forearms. Now, what's missing? Yeah, about 2 centimeters worth of material. I thought it was flashing. I took that off and it was only until I put it all together that I noticed. Yeah, that. Yes, I was a silly sausage. I looked at loads of photographs, but it was really hard to tell because these things don't come with good instructions or any instructions whatsoever. But you just have to make do with other people's tutorials like mine, and hopefully you will learn from me. So this, I'm going to try and salvage it, but the problem is there's this contour all the way down. It's a very subtle contour, and try and back it up with some more plastic offcuts and try and stick it all together. I don't think it's going to be working because the whole thing's got to be really robust and strong because this material is, as you can see, there's a lot of resistance and it will only just break later. But I'm going to give it a go. But over my shoulder, that's the contact page of Imperial Surplus, the people who made this kit. And I'm going to email them now to ask them how much it's cost to send me out 2 of these. And with duty charge on top of that, now that was a costly mistake. Not welcome this side of Christmas. Woohoo! Let's have another go at this, shall we? And this time, be super careful. First off, let me apologise. I didn't film the process of me putting together the replacement forearms. In fact, I'm in the process of spraying them. Now, the reason why I did that is because this disaster, I needed to expunge this horrible memory of me putting together incorrectly this forearm. So I went ahead and actually put together the forearms and now I'm painting them. However, what I'm going to do is use these and this disaster, this absolute balls up, and then explain to you exactly the best way to put these things together, how to trim them and how to finish them. Now, I'm not going to go into detail about how I painted them because if you're a regular viewer, you know that every single time I need to explain how I painted it on every single episode, it's going to be really boring. So what I've done, I popped the link down below to a separate video how I actually prepared and painted my First Order Stormtrooper armour, so it doesn't make the video super long. So let's go into details. Remember this absolute balls up? Yep, there we are. So since that last video you saw me present my balls up, I did try and repair it by adding a piece of plastic all the way down behind the actual gap itself, with the hope of actually using a lot of filler and a lot of sanding. But as you can see, this is an absolute nightmare. And also look at that. That is so lopsided, that would have been uncomfortable, and after all that work it would not have looked good either. Hence, yep, there is the replacement, but cut right. So the actual seam is around about here, and then added a shim or a flange, just like the same construction methods with the thigh and the biceps. So once you cut it out, it's really easy to put together. Now, the other thing I need to draw your attention to is this. This is not a sloppy mistake. This is actually canon to the costumes in the films. So because not everyone's hands are small like mine, some people have bigger hands or bigger arms, and they needed to fit them through this hole because this whole thing stays as one piece. And so this little flap was there, so it's only glued from the base all the way up 2/3 of the way stops there and it's exposed. Now, I might glue this back down again because my hand actually does fit through there, so it's not an issue and no one's going to know anything different. The other thing I need to draw your attention on, other than the balls up, is, yep, you can see a hole here. So when you get a vac form version of this kit, you'll see an indent. I don't think it matters which company you go to, but it will have this type of indent. Now, that's meant to be quite a sharp indent. It's not meant to be a hole. I've seen other work in progresses where they cut this out, but it's very much like the pill holes in the biceps, and that's just meant to be an indent with a vinyl black sticker put in. However, because it is a vac form, you don't get that sharp edge and it's kind of messy. So what I've seen online, I've done myself, I cut it completely out, added a piece of plastic, then I did a load of filler on top of that, sanded it down, drilled 2 holes, one here and one there, and then made a slice with a Dremel either side, so it's a much nicer finish. And what I'll do, because it's not meant to be a hole, and I'll blank it off at the back like I did with the pill holes on the bicep armor. Now, it's a small detail that I don't think many other people will notice, but when you're working so closely with this type of armor, you want to try and make things as good as you can, especially if it doesn't take too much time or effort. So here we go. Now, you've got the side parts here. Now, this is the top part, and you've got this panel which joins onto it. Now, they have a slightly small flange here. It's very, very small. And so what I did, I used plastic weld because there's a lot of springy tension with this forearm. So you really have to make sure that this brings these 2 sides together and keeps it secure. So I didn't use any other glue for that, just plastic weld, and that worked a treat. Now, the glue that I used for the sides, yep, you can see how it's cut. The seam is around about here, so it's just above these indents, and it goes all the way along, and that's glued together with adding a shim behind it. Now, for this, I used the E6000 glue because at this stage I was really worried about cocking it up again, so I needed to make sure I was able to take it apart just in case. But in retrospect, I would have used plastic weld on this as well. Now, the next thing I need to show you is this. So this is the box. So there's a little box that goes onto, onto the forearm itself. Now, I'm not too sure if this is for the left or the right forearm. I need to figure that out later. But with this, it comes in 2 parts. It comes with a flat panel which goes inside, and then you basically paint it and it's stuck onto here. This is meant to look like it's just been attached. I can almost see the finishing line, so it's all painted now, and this is the left forearm. I'm going to show you how all these additional bits glue onto this. Now, if I flip this round to the underarm, great big square there, that is for one of these boxes. One's for the left and one's for the right. And they are slightly different because the indents on different sides of that box. Now, it's really important to get this right, and so to know that's right, where the clip should be, I think it's this one here. That indent there has got to be on the side of the clips. So that is correct. That is not correct. That's meant to be for the right forearm. So it's really important to get that away to make sure I put this on there. Now, earlier on in the video, I think I mentioned that I was going to bolt this on with plastic bolts like I did with the boxes on the torso armor. However, if you flip this in upside down, you will see those bolts, the nuts would actually come out here, and that would interfere with my arm. You can imagine how uncomfortable that would be. Yes, I can put padding, but you know what? I don't think I'm really going to go for that option. I'm going to use glue to stick this on. So one less thing to worry about. The next thing are these resin parts. Now, I've painted these separately. We got this doohickey, and there's an orientation to this as well. So it's not this, it's this. And how can you tell? Well, one of these, which I think they represent a type of attachment or screws, there's one lonesome one here, and that goes on the upper arm. So I'm going to glue that down there as well. And then the clips, another orientation detail to worry about. So you have to make sure you know if it's meant to be that way or that way because of that detail. And so from the reference photographs I've seen on work in progresses, it's meant to be this way. That is incorrect. And that is correct. The reason I'm repeating this is just for myself, because I can imagine gluing this down and actually accidentally doing it that way. So it's meant to be that way. Now the glue I am going to be using is, yep, good old E6000. The reason being is because it's flexible, because even though this is pretty firm now, there is still slight give to it around here. And if I use super glue, these would most likely snap off, and it's just not worth it. You may have noticed a slight mistake that I've actually recommended in previous videos when it comes to the resin parts. I didn't mask off the bit where the paint should not be, which means this will be gluing straight directly onto the paint and not to the material. So that is a no-no. Don't do what you see here. If you can, add a piece of masking tape there, paint, and then take off the masking tape so you know the resin part will glue directly to the plastic. Now, because it's not structural and there's not a lot of give here, I think I can get away with this, and also this glue is superb. So let's go ahead. I know, I said I was going to use the glue to stick the resin parts onto the forearm, but you're seeing me using a hot glue gun, and I'm going to hold up my hands now. I'm just a little bit impatient because it's been such long build. I just want a quick result, and as much as this glue is fantastic to use, it does take forever to set. So in comes the hot glue gun, where it's instant and it works. Now the question you may be asking, why have I not used this on any of the parts of the kit? Well, it's a good question because it's really messy. Hot glue guns, they comes out with a stream of melted plastic and it gets stringy as well, and also it's too good, meaning that if I made a mistake trying to pry this off afterwards is near on impossible depending on the two materials it's sticking together. So that's why I've avoided it. However, at this stage I know definitely where these are supposed to go, and I only needed a tiny amount to put them on because they're only aesthetic, they're not holding anything else together. So I've gone for the hot glue gun. You guessed it, I'm at the final stage of applying the black vinyl stickers onto the forearms. Now here they are. This comes with the entire kit, and I'm looking for this lower wrist pillar. So it's that one there. There's actually two. Now to apply that, usually that would have been stuck directly onto the vac form on the indent that would have been there. But as we know, I cut that out and made it much more accurate with a nice sharp edge. However, it's a hole and it needs to be blanked off at the back here for the sticker to work. So I'm not going to place it right here. It's going to go from behind. And to do so, I'm going to do this. So get myself some plastic card, some nice thin plastic card, because it's easy to work with compared to the thickness of this. Then I need to match the contour, because if I didn't, it would have been an absolute nightmare trying to get this right. So there we go. If I just, there we go, outline the contours. So the outline on the outside of this will be exactly as the interior, as you can see. But all I need to do now is cut this out. And in the fine tradition of all makeup programs on TV, here's one I made earlier. And then I applied the vinyl black sticker onto it. Now all I need to do then is just pop that at the back here. Let's just flip upside down so you can see it. It's a weird angle. And there we go. That's what I'm looking for. I'm just going to glue that in, and that works a treat. So I'm going to do the other one now, and that will be done. And then I'll go and do the other final stickers. To the eagle-eyed viewers out there, you would have noticed the two bolts, and I know I mentioned before I was going to glue these on, but you know what, as I was trying to glue them on, there's not much square surface for this to attach to here post painting, and it was going to get very messy around the edges. So I thought to myself, just as I did with the boxes around the torso part of the armor, I got a hot glue gun and then glued them here and here, flipped it over, drilled two holes, and then fed them through, adding a washer and a bolt, which is actually a good thing because, as I've mentioned, at a later stage I might want to actually remodel these on Fusion 360 and get them resin printed, making the edges sharper and making the indents a bit sharper as well. So I've got that option to improve this part. It just have to remember I need to add some sort of padding around here because these, yeah, that's going to be quite uncomfortable. So what's next? There we go, the inner forearm. So that's these ones here, and they go there. Now I think out of the entire kit, I think the Forearms actually have the most vinyl stickers. But that's the great thing about how these stickers are made is in fact that if I get this wrong, unlike traditional water decals, I can always take it off and reposition this. So there's no worries about getting it wrong first time. And as I've mentioned about vac form kit is that you're going to get these rounded edges, and this is where it really stands out, because when you put these stickers onto it, it's meant to be a perfect square of corners, but when I place this here, it will curve slightly, which isn't ideal, but that's the nature of vac forms. So you can see what's going on there. It's curved up. It's almost like a square dish. Whereas if this was a sharper edge to it, that would just sit in the square recess. And again, once I revisit this one day, and I'll make those files free online through Thingiverse, and I'll let you know if you stay tuned to this channel, I'll make this really sharp so when you place those stickers in there, you won't get that curvature. And the last ones I need to do is the back of the forearm. So it's always important to work out. That's the thing, a lot of these vinyl stickers do mimic exactly what was on the actual armor used in the films. So even though it looks a bit tacky up close, this is actually genuine. That's right, that's a face of disbelief because I finally finished the damn Forearms. It's taken a few months longer than they should have done, but that was down to me being a super stupid sausage for cutting off bits I should not have cut. Thank God I'm not a rabbi. But I have to thank Imperial Surplus, the providers of this kit, for their great communication skills, because you'll find with a lot of companies that make this type of thing, they're not really great at communication with their customers, but to be fair, they were super prompt, and that was over Christmas time. So massive thumbs up to them. So overall, I think I could have done better putting these together as well as the final finish, but you can imagine I was just getting really just bored and stressed out and just wanted to get the job done. But I think you'll agree, overall, they don't look too bad, but that's a great thing about this type of hobby. If I want to, in a few months' time, I can come back to it and improve certain parts of it that I wasn't really happy with right now. But right now, I am, because they look like this. Now for the moment of truth, trying them on, because this is what it's all about. So unlike the New Hope armor, there's no strappy bit which straps to the bicep. From what I'm aware, this just basically slips on like so, and that's why there's a flappy bit here, because it's presuming that your hand will actually stop it from going any further down. But that's not the case with my hand. My hand doesn't seem to do that. So I think this is where the glove comes in. So the glove will be worn like that. It's got its armor piece there, and when I slip this down, the glove seems to stop it from going any further down like that. But I'm not too sure. I might actually have to clarify that as well. Or what I might do is add padding on the inside so it's a little bit thicker, so when it slips on, it's like a sock. But look at that. Now this is looking really, really good. I'm just looking to the camera. But I'm really, it's not until you put the armor on after all that time and effort that you can really see how powerful the design is of the First Order Stormtrooper armor and why I fell in love with it. And that is looking awesome. Now for the next one. So as I mentioned earlier on in the episode, I actually did use a Sharpie and put left and right on the inside, but now that everything's all together, you can kind of see, so where those clips are, that will be on the inside, not on the outside. So that's how it works. And then the glove. There we go. Glove goes on like so. Look at that. That is making me look quite beefy, I have to say. And again, those cuts here, they really are good. So it's really ergonomic. It doesn't pinch whatsoever, although you have to make sure it stays in the correct orientation. If it's like that, it doesn't really work, so it's got to be there. Look at that, I look like a transformer. Power Rangers. Duh, what is it about this part of the armour that I'm being such a silly sausage on in regards to actually working stuff out? So, as I mentioned, it's down to the size of your hand and the glove that holds on the forearm part of the armour to the arm and holds it up. No, that's not the case. It's actually, there we go, the gasket. The gasket set from Geeky Pinks. So this is the elbow part of the armour. It's got 2 strips of Velcro all the way around. This is the loop side, so this gets attached on the inside of the bicep part of the armour, and this bit, yep, that gets attached in the inside of the forearm part of the armour. What I need to do is add the hook side of the Velcro on the inside of this armour, and then that just gets fed through, then stuck, and there we have it. See, that makes a lot more sense. So the forearm is held on by the gasket is held on by the bicep, and the bicep is held on by another gasket which goes over the shoulder. Get me? Yeah, I finally got there in the end. Sorry about that. Being these the last parts of the kit's been made, does this mean that I'm finished? Not quite. I've still not covered the lid, helmet, bucket, whatever you like to call it, but more importantly, the miscellaneous stuff. Meaning it's stuff that I probably didn't film as I was making the parts to this kit, or more importantly, things that I forgot to do and stuff that I wanted to improve upon after I built it. So that's an episode you really need to look out for if you're following my videos to build your own First Order Stormtrooper armour. And now for the YouTuber fluff. If you haven't subscribed and you do like this work in progress playlist and you want to see other cool videos of me making really cool props from TV, film and theatre, by all means click on the subscribe button down below where you will be notified on the next cool episode. And if you have subscribed, a super thumbs up. Thank you so much. Your support means the world to me. Leave a like down below, a comment, a feedback, criticism or questions about something that I haven't actually covered yet. But in the meantime, this is Captain's Dry Dock. My name's John Child, and I'm holding hands with a Stormtrooper. You stay safe, and I'll see you on the next episode. Take care.